Good morning, this is Bill from Europa, Naples, and today I have this fantastic 1953 MG TD Roadster. You know, this is a great old Morris garage car. The TD, of course, the fourth in the MG Midget lineup, if you will. The first came out in 1924, and cosmetically they didn't change all that much. This car is a lot more important than you might think. It almost single-handedly brought sports car enthusiasm to the United States. That's a pretty big accomplishment. You know, every time you see a BMW Z4 going down the road, or a Porsche Boxster, or you know, God help us, a Mazda Miata, you know, they can trace their origins back to the demand for this car. It started out in the early 20s with a company called Morris Garages. A gentleman named Cecil Kimber was their general manager, and he started building sort of modified Morris cars that were a little bit lighter, faster, more responsive, more fun to drive than, you know, what was out there. And they had a pretty good immediate success. 1924 was the first true, you know, midget in the lineup. It was called the 14/28 Super Sport. You know, quite a name. But you know, it started the chain, which became the MGTA, the TB, the TC, and then of course the TD before it went on to the MGA and so on and so forth. But this TD was really the first made for the United States version. I mean, it truly wasn't. It was a British car that was brought over here. But, you know, after the war, you know, the cars that were being produced and exported, they were the ones that got the best allocation of resources, and MG started sending a ton of them to our shores. Now, the reason they could do that is because of our military guys over there in the 40s stationed in England saw these things, thought, what the hell is that? Started driving them, fell in love with them, and brought them back with them to the United States after the war, where they caught on like wildfire. There just was nothing else on the road like it at the time in the United States. You know, it was nimble, small, light, fun to drive, a true sports car. They became legendary in the SCCA series, and you know, now the vintage racing series, and so on and so forth. So history was made. As to this car, you can see how absolutely gorgeous it is. Now, you may wonder why it doesn't have wire wheels. So many of them did. Well, the MG TDs never came with it. They went from these big 19-inch spindly bicycle-looking wire wheels to a much more modern at the time and ventilated 15-inch steel wheel that made it actually possible to have these beautifully stylized fenders. They were much more rickety on the TBs and TAs and TCs. It also got a double wishbone front end and independent suspension, rack and pinion steering. It became a little bit heavier, a little bit wider, and certainly more substantial. You know, some of the purists at the time, the purists are always a pain in everybody's ass, but anyway, some of them at the time said it was a little bit too much like an Eldorado or something. You know, that said, I dare them to drive it today and make that comparison. And drive it I did. This is not my first experience with old British technology. I had a 1950 Morris Cabrio in my personal collection, if you will, for a year or so before I had to sell it for some reason. And I absolutely loved it. Now, you know, the driving is not like driving a modern car. There's no question about that. Any braking you want to do, you probably want to plan the night ahead. And, you know, acceleration-wise, it's not going to whip your neck back or anything. But that said, it is pure motoring, open top. Here's another thing that kind of makes me wonder. How the hell is it that Britain, which is bloody cold and wet, came up with these sort of non-weatherized roadster cars for people to enjoy? They must have frozen their heinies off. But, you know, I guess they, for the love of sport, did it. Anyway, look at the chrome and brightwork on this car, the incredible paint. Just look at that. I mean, this thing had a frame-off restoration about 15 years ago. Of course, it's been stored indoors and loved on since then, and hasn't deteriorated truly at all. The paint quality is astounding. The chrome, the brightwork, absolutely gorgeous. And the mechanicals are terrific. I just did a 35-mile round trip in this car, and you know, I didn't expect to make it, truly, not without the aid of a tow truck, but make it I did, and it was absolutely flawless. Here's this, what do they call it, headstone column type fuel tank there in the back. Has virtually no luggage room. Nice spare tire mounted there. Again, the beautiful, these are glass. This is actual glass. This is not plastic. That is a glass taillight. Same ones that are on my Morris, actually. Cool stuff like little flip-up gas tanks. See, we had some pressure in the tank. Under here, of course, I've got my bag of crap. Everything's been restored just beautifully. If I go over to this side, and we'll have some photos of this on the site, but there is a giant set of books and records, photos of the restoration. You get great little stuff like a compartment in there for your toolkit and stuff. It's all been so beautifully put together. It's even an adjustable seat in this car. You crank down that wing nut, you can slide it back, forward, all around. You know, pretty cool stuff, and part of what made these TDs the Eldorados of the midget lineup. Get that back on. There's one thing I love, it's these little snaps. Absolutely, I could just spend all day snapping these things. Fantastic. Back at the shop, we have a brand new soft top for this thing, Stayfast, with the windows, all brand new. The car just looks astounding. Now I'm going to pause for a minute to get under the hood, or hoods, or bonnets, or whatever you want to call them. To show you the motor beneath. It's a 1250cc fella, twin SU carburetors, and very, very nice to look at. And of course, it was a nice big access with that twin folding bonnet. But all right, so pause for a minute. Too hard to do one-handed, and we'll get back into it. All right, so after a little bit of labor, here it is with the hood or hoods in the upright position, maybe the bonnets, a foldable bonnet, if you will. And we can find the 1250cc XPAG motor. Hope I got that right from my memory. This was a pretty important motor. They used it, you know, in the TC and also in this car. The TC was on a lighter, so maybe a little bit sluggish in the TD, but still a fantastically reliable motor. That said, it's in great shape. Have a look at that. You can see that was part of the restoration on this car. The block has been painted correctly, I believe. I'm sure some MG guys out there are going to correct me on all this stuff, but what the hell. You get a view of that rack and pinion steering, which helped modernize this car. Of course, the double wishbone suspension, precursor, if you will, but an independent suspension. And otherwise, everything's in great shape there. You know, I know there's going to be some jokers out there who are going to call and ask if this thing leaks. Of course it leaks. It's a British car. It's an old British car. The question is, how much does it leak? And I'm sure there's some guys out there who have sealed them, and they're fine. But, you know, yeah, you're going to have a couple drips. That's just the way it is. You can see down here is the number plate on the engine. I don't know if it's too dark for you to see, but we'll have a shot of that anyway. And what a great driver, man. This thing just fires right to life, goes down the road beautifully. Absolutely love it. Here's the original brass plates on the car, the identification stuff. Oh, one-handed, scary. Underneath there, another one from the MG Car Company Limited. And everything very proper, correct, and showable under the hood of this car. Of course, someone could tidy it up even a little bit more, but right now it's fantastic enough to be happy with. So let me close the video for a moment, put these hoods back down, the bonnets, whatever you want to call them, and we'll move forward. Okay, now we're back with the bonnet back down. I love those droopy headlights this thing has, sort of set low into the fenders, makes it look a bit sporty at the time. You know, they ride lower than the top of the radiator cap, which is a true, genuine radiator cap. Well, you see that. And if you look down here, shockingly, this thing can be crank started. I don't recommend it unless you want your elbow coming out the side of your arm, but you know, you can do it if you need to in a pinch. It is also a fold-down windshield, Jeep style. Love these little flappy side windows. So if you twist this wing nut here and on the other side, this whole thing can come down. You can put on your German-style tank goggles and go for a spin, trying not to get bugs in your teeth. Hilariously, these cars were also touted as being the most weatherproof of the MG Midget series at the time, which is, of course, true. But, you know, it's a little bit like saying that you know, I don't know, hiding under your desk would stop an atom bomb from taking you out. You can see the beautiful, what do they call this? Scuttle humps, the twin humps there at the back of the cowling, sort of Bugatti style. Beautiful wood dashboard. That's all been part of the restoration. The original steering wheel in fantastic condition, no cracks or anything on it. Horn doesn't seem to work. It's got a horn up there button somewhere. I don't think they put them through the column this time. These fantastic Jaeger gauges that do work. It was ticking off miles yesterday. They have a funky green backlighting that was probably new at the time, and of course a host of switches and gauges to keep your eye on what's going on with the car. I love the reverse opening doors. Beautiful feature, the MG Car Company Limited skid plate there. You can see the quality of the leather is fantastic. It looks a little bit purple on this iPhone, but it's bright red and absolutely stunning. And everything's been done inside to a very, very high quality. So let's hop inside, go for a spin. Oh, Lord. Okay, there I am. That would have been better if I was some sort of a professional gymnast. You can see this terrific little dash-mounted rear view mirror. The most incredible wiper setup. You can kind of use it manually. You can make it be power. And, of course, you park it by putting into that little guy there. Look at those gauges. They're full mechanical gauges, so they don't operate smoothly. They kind of tick, 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 tick. Very, very cool stuff. The switch is original here with the key, lights on the other side of it. This guy here, what the hell is this thing? I already forgot. That's some kind of lights. You got your amps, you got your oil pressure, you got a oil warning light, nice. You got a probably a water warning light. This is a pull starter. This is a choke. This turns on the illumination on the dash. I forgot what that one does. I'm sure it's something. And over here you got this fantastic little wooden glove box door. So just lovely. Down there, your leather shifter. You can see my dirty shoes. There's a roller type gas pedal. All the lights up there have indicators on them so you can see when they're on. Over here is your turn signals, which are self-canceling, much to my surprise. So when you turn left, you put that to the left, you come back and it shuts off itself. My Morris had semaphores on the side. I don't think it did that. Anyway, I'm rambling. Let's go for a spin. Now, as I said, when it comes to braking in this thing, you're probably going to want to plan it, days in advance. Actually, I think the brakes just need a little bit of a tune-up. So, without further ado... All right, well, they're not holding us in place, and the damn e-brake won't hold up for the moment. So, let me just do that. Listen to that thing fire up. Absolutely awesome how good this car runs. We just have to get the brakes to match. So away we go. So this had a 4-speed Synchromesh transmission. Very advanced at the time. I don't think a lot of cars had 4 speeds in the 50s. Certainly not American cars. It has an incredibly cool sound from the motor, of course. Very, very nice. Very peppy, and quite a bit of it comes through into the car because of the holes inside the firewall. But of course, that's what open top, early British... When you're driving it down the street, everybody loves it. It's not like one of those things where some people love it, some just thinks it's the greatest car they've ever seen. Oh, maybe. But steel fenders is the way to go. Anyway, this is an absolute blast. I can see why the GIs brought these things back to America, why they've been so beloved for so many years, and of course why they continue to be sought after and enjoyed by enthusiasts today. They're just absolutely fantastic cars. Nothing else feels like them. us a call, 239-649-7300, on the web at mercedesexpert.com. Thanks so much for having a look. We really appreciate it. I try to keep the phone. I tell you what, this is the hardest one-handed phone drive yet, but you'll find it's worth it. Thanks again. We appreciate the look.